Yes, we're back again. Sources say it's Friday. I think we're still just coming out the end of the Christmas and New Year period, but yes, apparently it is Friday. So, of course, you know what that means, folks. It's time to get that Friday feeling. I can safely say I think a lot of the people watching tonight will need that Friday feeling after the what we felt on Thursday. But that's what me and Liam are here for. That's what we do. So come in, everybody, sit down. We'll get through this together. We'll have a therapy session. The dust is starting to settle on yesterday. So, yes, come on in and go get that Friday feeling together. So, welcome along if you've chosen us on your fine Friday evening. But, Liam, what a difference a year makes. Last time you and I were on, it was last year, and here we are. Well, we went from an amazing record in 2024 to 100% losing record in 2025. What happened? Where did it all go wrong? But outside all that, did you have a good New Year, sir?
I had a good New Year. It was very good. You know, it was good to bring it in. I was excited about the game. Like, I was more excited about the game than I was about New Year. And even jumped on a Thursday New Year's Eve podcast with Russell and Pam and Johnny Log was on that as well. Mm. But you know what? Like, just a way to like take all the air out of it. You know, the New Year. But then you look back, you watch a couple of podcasts, you talk to some wise people like yourself and read some comments, and then you watch some of the comments that came through the people that won and have the high ground in that right now. And my God, I feel better about who I am already. Not that I felt any worse yesterday, but yeah, it's easy for us to get over this one. I don't think it's massive. We can get into the buts and whys and all that, but it's like, all right, we did not see it coming, but I'm no ready to I need to jump off bridges. 11 points clear.
Definitely not, mate. Definitely not. And I appreciate you saying wise man, but there's only one wise man in this bus, and it's you, Mr. Canada's favourite Tim, Liam. But yes, we are here tonight. So before we go any further, folks, of course, you know what to do on a Friday night. Help out Uncle Phil and help out Uncle Liam by doing all that good stuff. You can hit the like button. Help us out again in the old algorithms on YouTube. Get us recommended to more Celtic viewers. As JD pointed out, apparently there's 4 Celtic pods live just now. So, hey, if you've chosen us, like 41 people right now, we're doing 43, it's just going up to. People are starting to come in now. If you hit that like button, it will get us recommended to more people who happen to be browsing YouTube right now if they're Celtic fans. So, hey, hit that like button. 46 now it's went up to. So you can do that. You can get involved in our comment section like people are already doing. Who have we got today? We've got Teresa Lyle, we've got Michelle Reid, we've got Keirdo, we've got Scott Howe, Pato, JD have already highlighted, Jim Dolan, Jim C, David Scullion is in. Yeah, we've got a lot of the favourites in. David McMenemy also. So yes, as I say, come in, sit down. We'll have a therapy session together and we'll get through it. What else can you do? Oh, also in our comment section tonight, I've put a poll because there's a certain left back. No, not the left back we normally talk about on the Friday feeling. He might get mentioned tonight, but there is a left back, obviously, that is in the news right now. Looks like it might be happening. Me and Liam will talk about that as well because I just love the irony of all these years we try to find a Kieran Tierney replacement and it might end up being Kieran Tierney. Imagine that funny old world that we live in. So we'll be talking about him later on. So there's a poll there about Kieran Tierney. Yay or nay? What are you thinking about it? Let us know. And also, what else can you do? You can hit the subscribe button if you've not done so yet. I noticed yesterday that our subscribers went up a little bit. I wonder why that was. Jeez, I wonder what could have possibly attracted that one. Going by the numbers that PMP did. Yes. And of course, you can head over to piesports.com still. In 2025, you can still do that. You head there and use BUS1888 as your checkout code, and you'll get 12.5% off your order. And on the subject of PMP, I need to point out, if you did watch yesterday, first of all, thank you for watching, whether you have a Celtic persuasion of or the persuasion of the other team. Some of them might be watching tonight as well. My audio was absolutely away to hell yesterday, and the reason why is me and Russell discovered after the show that because me and him share a login, the admin login for StreamYard, he was on at the same time as me. He messed around with his audio settings because he was having trouble at the start, and in turn, that affected my audio settings. So that's why my microphone absolutely sounded terrible. But Liam assures me that tonight I do not sound like I am underwater like I did when I watched back PMP yesterday. And I was like, oh, brutal. So all the technical glitches are ironed out. We're okay. We're good to go. So a wee teaser, a wee guess the player, Liam, to get it started, get that brain going as I do every week. So the last few I've done, the career's been quite a small one in terms of number of clubs. Tonight, though, this guy has done quite a tour, so he's got quite a busy career. I also think it's quite an easy one to be fair. I think a lot of people in the chat will get it. But of course, Liam will come back to the answer at the end of the show. So tonight's mystery player hidden behind the Boise Bus logo is... He played for Clydebank, Dundee United. Then he made the long trek across Tannadice Road to Dundee. Then he signed for Celtic. Then he went to Tranmere Rovers, Motherwell, then a trip back to Dundee. Then he played for Falkirk, and then he went to Clydebank, and then Albion Rovers. Extensive career. It's quite a long career, but yeah, crossed the Tannadice Road divide there. Dundee United straight to Dundee. There you go. You wouldn't see that happening in Glasgow too often. But yeah, quite an extensive career. But yes, that is the mystery player tonight. We shall come back to the answer at the end of the show. And yeah, with that said and done, and hey, Liam's disappeared off the screen as well for some reason. So I said technical bugs have all been ironed out. And there you go, the technical bugs here. Oh, there he goes. There he is. He's back now. So yeah, Liam, so I guess we may as well, before we talk about St Mirren, because obviously that is the game on Sunday. The games are still coming thick and fast. We're still in that festive period. We've got a game on Sunday and another game next Wednesday, and then back at it again the next weekend. So yeah, games are just coming everywhere. It's probably a good thing that it is, because I'd imagine that Celtic will want to get yesterday out of their system as quickly as possible, mate.
I know they'll want to be back to playing at home as soon as they can, because you look at that crowd yesterday, I think your guys got spooked a wee bit. So I think getting the next game as fast as you can and getting back at home is just going to at least get them settled and all that. Because somebody made a comment. I was watching you yesterday, and I was in the chat, and one of the regulars, there was some great comments on there after the game that didn't get brought up. And some people were talking about the idea of some of these boys going into that venue on that day, and they were angry bears, as we like to call them, and I imagine that tension was there right for the start. I mean, we saw their behaviour even after they were winning and what it was like. So it must have been a toxic environment to play in at that point. And, I said it to one of the other chats I was on, and I said it was like a hippie band showed up at a punk rock festival. We just didn't seem to have the same intensity that both the crowd and Rangers carried in that day. And so I think that's where Rodgers got it wrong. I think he needed to sort of intensify and say, okay, we're playing a punk rock gig tonight, and I think you got to start to develop and look at your players and all that, and start playing the sort of venue and all that as well, because he's been proved that a really well coached and focused and planned team, if they can anyway disrupt their flow of play, it's very easy to throw off the entire team. You just have to throw off 2 or 3 of the cogs. We'll talk about who those are. But that plan seemed to work. So, I don't know. Can't wait to see us play against St Mirren. I want to see us back working again. But one thing it did do, it exposed us, it opened us up, and it showed us some of the frailties that we have, that we've been talking about on this bus, on many podcasts, and that, we're very easy to close down on that left side, and that's where it's going to come through. And it just seems to domino effect through the entire team once we close that channel. It's like, you starve the head, the body dies, and they seem to basically cut out Callum McGregor through that left side.
Yeah, well, they cut out a fair amount, and say it was so easy for them. They just forced us into mistakes. And one thing that just baffled me was, and I think this is something that I think is a wider problem across all of football, where there seems to be very little individuality nowadays in football, Liam, where it's all about systems. Managers have got systems and they want to stick to it. And it's not just a Brendan Rodgers or an Ange Postecoglou thing. It's widespread across football. And I feel like in situations like yesterday, where some of the players need to use a wee bit of intuition, individuality where this isn't working. And regardless of what Brendan Rodgers may have told them and said on the sideline, sometimes you've got to just go long, for example. I mean, it seems like a long ball is an offensive term in the world of football, thanks to the Sam Allardyces of the world back in the 2010s and the 2000s and whatnot. It's like nobody wants to play long balls and whatnot. I mean, in recent times, we've seen at Ibrox, just a random long ball. Look at Maeda last season in the free each game.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Hart just punts the ball long. It comes back to him 20 seconds into the game. Joe Hart just launches it just to get it clear, which is very unlike Celtic, because under Brendan and even under Ange, it was all about pass out slowly from the back. Plays it long, the ball takes a fortuitous bounce, causes all sorts of carnage. Celtic end up scoring off of it. Yesterday, there was 2 moments where Liam Scales played a long ball, and if it was just maybe just a wee bit slower, or if Kyogo had just got off his mark a wee bit quicker, he was almost on the end of it. But again, Rangers were caught flat-footed, and we highlighted it yesterday, and on the PMP, Russell brought it up about the offside goal, right? Which was offside, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and go, VAR have cheated us. It was one of the few times where we decided, let's try and just dink it over them here. Bernardo plays a fantastic ball over the top. Kyogo gets on the end, it puts it in the net, it's offside. But it's like, well, that worked. Maybe if we just try maybe that a bit more. But it just felt like we were just kept doing the same stuff again and again, and they were just cutting it out, causing us to make mistakes. Say Liam Scales, the first goal. Greg Taylor in the cup final, look at that, tries to play a ball across the park, it gets cut out, Rangers break on us. There's a whole cluster of problems there. I mean, Liam Scales obviously is the biggest culprit with the terrible pass. It catches out Bernardo and McGregor flat-footed who can't recover. Raskin takes his run just to the side and Carter Vickers follows him. And then that pulls him out position. Raskin lays it back into the path of Hadji. And as I said yesterday, and I know Russell was very adamant that Kasper Schmeichel couldn't do anything, but me and Terry were very much the opinion, I think Kasper could have got down a wee bit quicker there. So there's a whole cluster of mistakes there. But again, talking yesterday on PMP, we've been in these situations before this season. We've went in at half-time. We've had a pretty dreadful first half. It's not something we've not seen already this season, Liam. We can recover for that. But as I said yesterday to Russell, that for me was the point where it was lost. When they came out in the second half, nothing's changed, no subs. And when you think back to what happened in the final a couple of weeks ago, where for some reason Austin Trusty was hooked off and Scales was brought on, it just seemed so weird that a manager of Brendan Rodgers' ilk surely must see that Liam Scales is struggling, even though he stood by Liam Scales. And Scales has had some great games for us. There's no doubt about it. Scales has had some great moments in the last 2 years. But see, even regardless of that, if he's having a bad game like he was, you've got to take him out of that situation. And the fact that he didn't do that and I don't want to use the word put trust in Trusty, but you know what I mean, to bring him on, I'm worried about, look what we saw in the last year with Lagerbielke and Mike Nawrocki, where Brendan Rodgers pretty much made his mind up. He just decided that. And it's like, don't tell me that's already happened to Austin Trusty. That is a weird scenario, because that's about £6 million we spent on him. And it's like, you don't tell me that he's a write-off already. Granted, Brendan Rodgers sees him every day in training, so he's better positioned than us. But from what we've seen, using the eye test, Liam, surely God Austin Trusty could have been a worse option than the way Liam Scales was playing yesterday.
No, I mean, I was, right up until half-time, I thought we could win this. I wasn't really, sometimes the head's down, it's like, no panicking. It's like, Rodgers will talk to him, half-time, we'll make that adjustment like we did last time, things will change the room. I thought Taylor would be coming off, I thought Scales would be off, and Hatate would be off as well too. So, make the changes at that point when it's this. But I don't know, see when you get to when every changes at the 60-minute mark, you start to question the elite manager status and start looking at, all right, like how much is you as sports science? As you talk about away from players that are like playing one sort of system, and can you get out of it? And when you block that system, well, doesn't it like you've not opened up the creative channels or the outlets for the creative players to sort of, perform and get you out of that? We just didn't seem to have that. And it really annoyed me that, the changes he did make were as late as what they were, when it was so obvious to everybody. But I mean, Rodgers is stubborn, and you got to take the good stubborn with the bad. But, he's stubborn with Greg Taylor. I wasn't even surprised that he started the other day just to get on my favourite subject. Right? I wish it wasn't my favourite subject. Honestly,
it's that time again. Where's Graham Tyrrell in the chat? Sound the klaxon.
Yeah. By the way, I thought he had a pretty good game. So the first goal, Scales was looking for him. And you could see that Scales had him lined up for a pass. And then Greg Taylor does what Greg Taylor does, is he takes a 5-yard run in behind the guy and basically takes himself out the pass.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll show back up and he'll point to you, where he should have put it or where he had time to put it, which is really frustrating. And I think what that happened is it made Scales readjust his body. It made him look for another option and all that. And then because we're getting high pressed, I don't think he panicked, but I just don't think he had the clarity and the timing to put it there, because his first intent, like they always say, play your instincts and all that. First time balls, don't overthink it. I think when you see that sort of ball and then Taylor runs into this other direction, you have to now overthink it and you have to readjust, right? So I think that's one of the things. The other thing I'm thinking as well is why are we playing Taylor all the time in that position? Why Scales and stuff like that? And if you start looking at the FIFA 24 and 25, they'll be coming out with all the player rankings.
Yep.
I remember watching when Celtic were on that. I remember watching Greg Taylor.
Yeah.
And they were all going about with their report cards or whatever it was, like wee boys and
all my team. Yep. I play it.
And by the way, that's not just Celtic. That's every team does that, because content creators making entire channels.
They do
playing stats and stuff like that.
Aye.
But you can see how it affects the squad and the culture of the team and all that as well. And I remember Greg Taylor was looking, it was all significant, whereas he was much higher than I thought he would be. But then again, you're looking at
video.
What are these? I was looking, those guys, Jude Bellingham and Frimpong were losing the heat at some of their things. Frimpong, I'm much faster than that, and whatever he was saying. And you look at what the measurements are, and they're just all based on data and metrics and all that. It will tell you that if our sports science team says, no, we've got to play Greg Taylor because Greg Taylor's passing stats is some of the best in his team. His movement and his pace is second to none. He covers more ground. He does more passes. But it doesn't count how many passes are to McGregor and Scales. That's just a pass back. And you wonder, is he trying to inflate his stats, or is he actually trying to play football? Because when you start looking at it that way, he's a very selfish player when it comes to padding his stats. Yes, he completes a fair amount of passes. Yes, he does a lot of pacey runs and things like that. But more times, how much of that intent helps us and how much it's actually a distraction and a detraction from what our game is. So I think you start looking at it that way. And, just like Rangers had a big thing last week about their sports science team.
Yeah.
We don't see what the manager sees in training. But we know there's an entire group around that manager, as we found out with Angela. It's a massive, massive squad. We saw them all in the photos with the trophies. And, how much of that influence are they putting onto who actually plays? Just like what we heard over at the other side, at the way they set them out. Are we seeing players being played with padded stats, and that makes sense for the ratio. And, I've tried to listen to some of the stats-based podcasts, right? But, it's an emotional game and it's a creative game, and they don't show up in these stats. And they sure as hell don't show up when Greg Taylor's playing. So as soon as we can get the Tierney done deal, the better. Austin Trusty's played many, many games at left back.
We were told when he signed he was a centre back but could double up as a left back as well. We were told that.
Yeah. So had Rio Hatate. So is Alistair Johnson, can play both sides, I think. And the fact that he's not tried to fix this when it's been a glaring thing really throws up a lot of questions that you can't ever just be comfortable with Rodgers, because he's always got that one streak of stubbornness that just makes no sense. And that's what being a football fan is. You're always going to believe that you've got the answer more than Rodgers. And right now, I think I'm right. I don't think Rodgers is a better judge a left back right now than I am, or a majority of people on this bus, and there are a lot of people that are catching on that this has been a massive problem for a long time, and people have camouflaged it because,
Speaking of catching on, there's a lot of people in the live chat right now that are very much of the opinion of what you've been saying for a long time on here, Liam. A long, long time about Greg Taylor. There's many people saying it, to be fair. I mean, Keir, don't imagine Greg Taylor even being confident enough to try and run down a contract at Celtic. We guy wants to get real now. Ian McIntosh says, and this is probably true, Taylor has already left. Mentally, has he checked out? He didn't look too happy when he got subbed, did he?
No, he didn't.
No, he did not.
Did you see him? He was getting at that. And
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for a guy that's playing for a contract, yeah, you're right. He's still making, imagine making the same mistakes 2 weeks in a row. But imagine playing him for that. If you're going to drop Trusty for one bad half, how does Taylor walk back into the team? And that's always been my biggest problem, because I think that affects culture. I think when you've got players that are not getting played, that came from good leagues and good teams, good price tags and all that, and they're not getting a game, regardless of their position. But you're looking at, there's 11 players in the park, and one of them does not, it's not their merit.
The thing is, we just said there, Trusty, being essentially dropped at the moment for one bad half. Try and refresh my head here. What did he do in that final that was so bad? Because when he went off at half time, Manston thought it's got to be injury related. It has to be something's happened. And the commentators quickly said, minutes into the second half, we've heard from the Celtic bench that the scales for Trusty sub is a tactical one. And I think it was Mike, who was ever the commentary? It would be Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon was on commentary for the Premier Sports final. And he said Scales obviously prefers to go longer. Maybe that's what Celtic are looking to do. But yeah, I was like, what did Trusty really do in in that half that was so bad? And it was, it's a strange one. I say you spend $6 million on the guy. It's quite disheartening if that's the case, that we're staring down the barrel of another centre back in the space of 2 seasons that we've spent a decent wedge on, that Brendan's already made his mind up that this one isn't for me, because that's a big outlay for Celtic. Although I say from what we've seen from the eye test, I think Austin Trusty for me passes with flying colours. I mean, that night in Bergamo when we played Atalanta, he was superb. He was an absolute brick wall that night. And it's like, that's what you want. And I know, and again, it goes back to the whole systems thing about playing out from the back. And Russell highlighted that yesterday, says Liam Scales deemed the ball playing centre-back. I think Trusty's maybe a bit more old school. He's just a defender, first and foremost, which, shock horror, what should the defender be able to do, first and foremost, Liam? Defend, keep helping the goalkeeper out and making sure we keep a clean sheet. And it's like, well, Austin Trusty seems to do that pretty well from what I've seen. And Liam Scales yesterday obviously had a disastrous first half and survived the full game. And let's obviously be honest here, what happened in the cup final, whether it was a penalty or not, it put us in a serious bit of danger. That could have easily went the other way. The linesman, they could have reviewed it on VAR and said, actually, that is a penalty. We were very, very, very close. And it was from a clumsy touch that he took. And another thing as well that baffles me about the ball playing centre-back thing is Carter Vickers feels like the type of player that's good with playing the ball out. But it's always been... Since Carter Vickers has been here, Starfelt was deemed to be the one to play out from the back, which he never seemed comfortable doing. And now it's Liam Scales has taken up that role, which again puts us in a bit of danger from time to time. It's like, I thought Carter Vickers feels like, because people draw the comparisons of Virgil van Dijk to Carter Vickers, and Carter Vickers will never have the career that Van Dijk's went on to have. He won't do that. But in terms of the standard of player, when you look at, since Van Dijk was a Celtic player, who's the best centre-back we've had since then? Carter Vickers. He's very much a Rolls Royce type of player. He's very cool and calm at the back. So you feel like he's the type of defender that can play out from the back, but it never seems to be that. It's always the one next to him that's asked to do it, Liam.
I was just going to say that and bring that up. Why do we persist to come out from the left side then? We've proved it doesn't work. I mean, and I think Taylor's had that effect on Scales or Trusty, whoever's playing in that side. When Taylor's behind you, and he's disappearing or doing diagonal runs, or you're having to track back, or he's 6 yards behind his man. He was shoulder to shoulder with Hadji before he scored that goal. And when Hadji scored that goal, Greg Taylor was 20 feet away from him. They were shoulder to shoulder at one time. Watch the beginning of that play. So I think we need to look at how we bring it out. And I sort of remember during Ange's time, and maybe that was when we had Juranovic and that we were bringing it out from that side a lot.
Yeah.
That seemed to be the channel where we would come and we would build out the ball. And it didn't seem to arrive with the amount or number of back passes we have.
Mm.
You know, as a lot of people brought up when we played St Johnstone the other way, that when we played with Bernardo and Ingalls and who else was in that? Was that Hatate? And that
midfield yesterday.
Aye.
It was started with McGregor, Bernardo, and Hatate, and then McCown and Engels came on later in the game.
But you know, I thought we played really well there, and I thought we passed it about and stuff like that, and we weren't looking for that ball that immediately goes back. Whereas, like, where's McGregor? You know, and it even playing Rangers, we just couldn't seem to get the ball out. Johnson couldn't get the ball away from his feet. He couldn't get the ball to Kuhn. You know, he couldn't get just everything seemed to be off from the back and coming out. And I think that's something Roger's going to have to look at. We're certainly not getting any joy coming down that left side of bringing the ball out. We don't have the player to do it. Let's try having Cameron Carter-Vickers pull it out. The only thing that they might be doing, maybe they're trying to protect him so that he's not in a danger zone. You know what I mean? Like getting flying in tackles.
The sports science said he's in the red zone, so you can't aggravate that. No, it's just one of these things that for me, I've always felt like Carter-Vickers feels like the type of centre back that fits the profile of a ball playing centre back, but he's never the one that's asked to do that. But then again, he does bail us out with some amazing last-ditch challenges. And to be fair, there was one yesterday where you felt like that could be a game-turning moment, that tackle that he put on Igamani when we were still 1-0 down. And you felt like, okay, it's a bit like the cup final, you know, we're 1-0 down and he's bailed us out again. We need to make it count. But yeah, second half, it just... I don't know, a wee 10-minute spell just after half-time, it just quickly went pear-shaped. And as I said yesterday, I know the 2 goals that Rangers scored in the second half, there's a bit of fortuitous to it where Ida's blocked one on the line and it's rolled along an empty goal mouth and Propper's put it in at the back post. And the second one, again, Carter-Vickers has went to slide tackle and block it. It's hit him and bounced up and just landed in Danilo's path 8 yards out for goal. But I said to Russell and Terry yesterday, they would have probably found a way to score again anyway, because they were just knocking on the door, other than, say, an offside goal that we had that obviously was offside. Other than that 10-minute spell, we just didn't look up to it at all. But it's one of these things that happens. Again, I'm always very good on the bus at drawing comparisons to things that I've seen happen before. And the way that game panned out yesterday after the great run that we've been on, I think back to Brendan's first time in charge. The Invincibles, we went 69 games unbeaten, which was astounding. And then when we did lose, I mean, we didn't just lose with capital L, capital O, capital S, capital E. That's how, when we get gubbed by Hearts, absolutely smashed that day. Yesterday felt like that, where it was like, we didn't just get beat by a wee snidey, like 1-0 or something. We got absolutely decimated. This decent run we've been on came to an end in the most spectacular fashion. But at the end of that season, when we'd won, wait for it, another treble, I think that was a double treble season, was anybody thinking about, oh, geez, man, that 4-0 loss we had to Hearts back in December? Geez, oh man, nobody was thinking about that. And the way this season's panning out and the way it could still very much go, because, yeah, the treble is still there on the table. If we go on and win it, and I say there's a very good chance we do, will anybody really be thinking, oh, that doing we took off our Rangers in December? Oh, man, what about that? Please think about that for a second. And nobody's going to really think about it at all other than them. They'll still be celebrating it probably. But if we've got all the trophies, Brendan says, we'll see you back here in May. Now, he's put it best himself. So, yeah, there is that element to it, because ultimately, Liam, the bigger picture is, and you know me, and I've done it enough, the viewers know that from watching this long enough and me being on this, I'm very much a bigger picture type of fan. No doubt about it, yesterday was a scandalous performance. They absolutely got obliterated. Got what they deserved in the end, and there is still things that we can say was unacceptable about it. But the bigger picture is Celtic can still win the treble. They are 11 points in front after 19 games, I believe it is. And the goal difference at the moment, I think it's like 20 plus goals of a difference between Celtic and Rangers right now, which effectively is another point. So we can't really grumble. What's the worst that happened yesterday? We don't go undefeated this season. I think just a few weeks ago, Liam, you and I mentioned the invincible word. We were talking on a Friday feeling, and I said, look, it would be nice. Ultimately, I don't care if we do go invincible. I just want the trophies at the end of the season. It would be good if we did it. Obviously, it came crashing down. That won't happen, but you don't get anything extra for having an invincible season. It's a nice thing to say. It's a nice accolade to have, but you don't get anything extra for it. So that's really the reality of what we've lost yesterday. The chance to have another invincible treble, maybe. But yeah, right now, there's still the league. We've got to obviously get that done and dusted as quickly as possible. The Scottish Cup needs to get wrapped up, and we've still got Europe. Europe is still the big fish that we need to fry. We need to this game with Young Boys of Bern coming up as well. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to going into 2025, and I think we'll recover pretty quickly. But one thing that can, of course, get the spirits up, Liam, is new signings, because wouldn't you believe it? It's January, mate. It's transfer time again. And hey, if Brendan Rodgers is to be believed, because a few weeks ago he told us how Dermot Desmond, he lives Celtic, he breathes Celtic, he sleeps Celtic when he goes to sleep. He thinks of Celtic. When he wakes up, the first thing he thinks of is Celtic. And a few years back when Brendan first came in, we were told, as the story goes, Liam, the tale goes that Dermot Desmond was embarrassed for his losing that semi-final to Rangers in 2016. And he said, go out there and get me a top manager at Peter Lawwell, which got Brendan Rodgers. So I'd like to think that Dermot Desmond, whenever he was watching the game yesterday, watched that and thought, I don't want that to happen again, and maybe get the checkbook out and maybe finance some big moves. And of course, we are now talking about the left-back position going to get addressed. It looks like Kieran Tierney is going to happen. It's not 100% yet, but Fabrizio Romano, the oracle, the all-knowing Fabrizio Romano, has been tweeting it a couple of times today that Celtic and Arsenal are in talks to get it done. It looks like it'll be a pre-contract. So he was signed for free in the summer, but to get him in the door, take him on loan for the rest of the season, which makes perfect sense. At the end of the day, with his fitness record, I mean, we want to try and get him up to speed, because we will have qualifiers to play in the summer if we win this league. We have to remember that. So we want to make sure these guys are in and are fit. But the first thing that stands out to me is it's early business in the January window, because one thing that we do not enjoy, Liam, is going to the last minute in a transfer window. We don't enjoy it. Has it been prompted by the terrible display at Ibrox? I don't know. I think this was in the works. There was talk weeks ago that this was in the works. Has it maybe been accelerated by the terrible performance? It's like we need something to get the fans back on side. Again, I don't know. That's for a cynical mind, regardless. But I'm happy if Kieran Tierney comes in. If he can stay fit, I mean, it's a no-brainer. We know exactly what he can do. Obviously, in the summer, he did cop a pretty bad injury with Scotland when he was trying to defend against Switzerland when they hit us on a counter-attack, and it looked a nasty one, to be fair. I thought he was gone for the season, but apparently he's been available at Arsenal to play since the start of November, but Mikel Arteta's just made his mind up that you don't have a future here. So he has actually been fit and ready to go for a couple of months now, but yeah, if he's good to go, then let's try and get it done, Liam.
I think it's a no-brainer. I think you got to bring him in. We're dying for that right now. Again, Scottish player as well, so it fits the cap. I remember watching him in the first game of that Euros he played. Was Switzerland the first game, or did we play?
The first game was Germany. We tried to erase that one for our mind. Yeah, that was a shocker. Aye. Yeah.
But even watching him, I started watching Scotland again, on the qualifiers and all that. And when we had that run, he was looking really good when he played with us. And I was thinking, he's still a world-class player, and he would look amazing at Celtic. I think what he's going to bring, if he does come, is he brings again. We, talked about the hippie thing. We looked very soft yesterday. I need somebody on there. I need a boy that will get in the middle of it all. I mean, funny, even when Ingles got hit by a coin, fucking Rangers guys were right in there as well. Like hassling with him and all that sort of shit. I think it was that wee Muppet Raskin was in there and that. And it wasn't he calm down the players, it was the argument with the referee and all that. They're trying to get him up. But we didn't have anybody, no one enforce a bit. Somebody just with a bit of grit, a bit of steel yesterday that should have, like that Jeffries, the amount of liabilities he took, we couldn't. And that's the two games in a row. That's been very, very effective. tactic against us is to take out our players with like really, really bad tackles and then off the ball stuff, which I thought that elbow was a straight yard. It's funny that the media are all talking about Raskin and his wee flare up with McGregor and all that, and that's getting ignored entirely. So back to Tierney.
Your favourite subject, left backs. Yes, your specialist subject. Yep.
I think we need it, and then I think that will stop us for all this passing back as well too. You know, I think he's one of the things. I mean, this game, I'm glad. If you want to lose, you want to lose now when you've got a chance where you can be reactive right away. So they can look to us and say, okay, we saw it as well now. I mean, I can run a professional football club. You should be seeing it, but maybe we should sign a left back, somebody that's really good and competent, unlike the last 4 that we've signed. So, it just sort of like shows you're awake, board. That's all. And keep Tierney's ideal for that.
What do you think of the prospect of Kieran Tierney down the left side with Dyson Maeda in front of him? What does that do for you, Liam? Thinking about that link up.
That absolutely, because I know we've got so much power on that side, and yet we keep handicapping ourselves with Taylor and Hatate now as well. Where and Scales, like we're trying to build up the weakness rather than the strength, and so it's like let's start building up that side, because as soon as we get that 2 sides attacking equally, when it works, that's when it really works. When we got both sides going, when the left side goes down, it just drags the whole team down with it. And so, whatever we're needing to do, we're needing another winger that can work on that side, and work on another defender that can work on that side. Well, 2 defenders.
I know, definitely. A couple of comments coming in about it. So Martin Weir says, just a thought, if KT is coming in, if Valier is still told he's second fiddle, Greg Taylor ain't going to hang around for third. Is he gone this window? I've said that a few times. The way the Celtic board operate, it's very, very, very rare that even if they can recoup a couple of 100,000, they'll do it. You know, you look at the examples of Joe Ledley a decade ago, where we sold him for 300,000 just to get something for him, which was actually a profit because he came in for nothing. But he was pretty much kicked out the door in that January window just to sign for Crystal Palace, just to get, I think, 300,000. And David Turnbull, last season, it was last season, going down at the last 6 months of his contract, he was basically told to, instead of waiting until he just ran it down, he was away last January for, I don't even know what the price was, one of those undisclosed fees, I'm guessing, but the Celtic board wanted to recoup something for Turnbull. Greg Taylor, to me, it feels like they'll try and get something for him. And there's a talk he wants to speak to Dynamo Zagreb, who, of course, we played not too long ago. And the general consensus was they weren't up too much, to be fair. They were no better than a Hearts or whatever. They were not, if that's, as Russell said, if that's the level that Greg Taylor wishes to speak with, then that tells you all you need to know there. In regards to Valier, I've said a few times, if the plan is to have him here next season, then he should have been getting a lot more game time. We don't know what the whole future holds for Valier. I think he's been pretty good, other than, obviously a lot of fans had made their mind up after one game against Falkirk where we had a bit of a wobble, but we recovered pretty well. He got a bit bullied that day. Welcome to Scottish football, son. This is how it is. But I think he's recovered since then, and he's had some good assists as well, getting forward, and that's something that, we need. Celtic have always been known for fullbacks that get forward and support the attack. And Brendan Rodgers' first time, the man we've been talking about, Kieran Tierney, getting forward, getting those crosses in. It was a case of Mikael Lustig would play on the right, but he would hold back and help cover with the defence, and Tierney would bomb forward. But if Tierney is coming back, and we've got Alistair Johnson who likes to go forward, you've suddenly got 2 fullbacks that like getting forward and supporting the attack. It could be very, very exciting to see. But with Valier, I think he's definitely got that in his game. I'm obviously working on his defending side. Can obviously do a bit of improving, but he's still very young. We'll see if he has got a future, Liam. But if Tierney is coming back, and say it's about 80%, it seems it's happening. I think Valier, if it's a no-brainer, if Celtic can make that happen in the summer, and they're talking, I remember last summer when he came in, it was looking like Barca would be asking for about 2 million to 3 million. I don't know if they'll push the value up. I don't know, has he really done anything to significantly push his value up? I don't know. I know Barcelona always need a bit of money these days. They seem to be in all sorts of financial problems every time you look at them. But I think if the boy's been here for a year it makes sense to, if they can keep him on board and he's bedded in and he's young and he can learn from Kieran Tierney so well, Liam.
I mean, he looks a football player. He reminds me of Stilian Petrov when we got Petrov, when we played him at a fullback in the fullback position as well.
Yeah.
You know, and who knows? He's one of these players that, like, his ball control's good. Doesn't mind getting involved in a tackle. Can head a ball. He's got some speed. And he's got some flair. There's many times where I've seen him go into the tackle where he's came out with the ball, you know, and it's just been like a scramble of legs and bang, he's come out with it. So, you know, I like that part about him. I love a defender that can get you right to the line and cross that ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like every good team we've had has had guys that can do that.
Yeah.
When O'Neill came, he brought, who did O'Neill bring? Steve Guppy. You know?
Steve Guppy, yeah, he loves Steve Guppy, yep.
Do that, right? When Brendan came, he brought Scott Sinclair. You know, and so, like, there's always been that. You know, we're not bringing Michael Gray at one point as well to do that sort of thing. Whereas, you know, that's the first time these managers do when they come in, is they want to get a threat coming in from the wing, somebody that can stretch the team and take them down. And I think us having a guy like Maeda and Kyogo, guys that are making great movement in the boxes and all that, we waste them. We waste them when we don't use that, because then they're always with their back to the goal and they're not playing, and they're, you know, Kyogo's running into space so many times that nobody's there. When we played those games we were winning those stream of 4-0 games, a lot of our goals and a lot of our balls were coming from the wide area and they were getting hammered across. And so I think if you get Valley and Tierney, you can get them both playing the similar system, so that when they do become interchangeable, you're getting a like for like, and you're no changing to an inverted system with your full going, you know.
We've definitely lost something from the start of the season where we looked like rapid, you know, we were really quick down the wings, but ever since this sort of like compensation for Taylor to cut inside again, we've definitely lost something, especially on the left-hand side. It's not been helped at Maeda. Now let's move on to another player though and get off the left-back side before we talk about the St Mirren game. Brown Warrior has come in with a hell of a comparison, and to be fair, he's not too wrong in this one. So he says Hatate is the most overrated player at Celtic and has been for about 2 seasons. Oofed. Fair enough. He's got 2 assists in 29 games though this season, which again, the stats do not lie. The Japanese Cham needs moving on. Japanese Cham. Oh my word. It's not, I say it's not a million miles wrong. There's definitely comparisons there. There's definitely similarities in that one. But yeah, Hatate, it just feels like, you know, we're just beating a dead horse now. Every week we seem to come away with the same by saying, but when he's on his game, how good he can be. But his game doesn't seem to happen too often these days, Liam. So I think the weird thing is he's one of these players that's made it sort of clear for a couple of years when he initially arrived that he has bigger aspirations and bigger plans. But right now, in his current form, what team from the big 5 leagues is realistically going to take a chance on him? I thought if there's any manager out there and any club out there that knows how good Rio Hatate can be and will 100% come in for him, it would have been Mr. Ange Postecoglou, who has went nowhere near any Celtic players since he left. And I think that speaks volumes that he hasn't came after Hatate. So I don't know, man, at the moment. Like, I agree that Hatate has probably ran his race at Celtic. He definitely looks like he's not got much left in the tank, really. It's which is again sad, because again we know how good he can be. That is a frustrating bit. But yeah, right now on current form, Liam, he's not getting that big move that he himself talked about a couple of years ago, about he sees himself playing in like Germany or something like that. It's going to be a bottom end team in the Bundesliga at this rate. It's not going to be a Bayern Munich or a Borussia Dortmund. I think it's going to be more like I don't know, Heidenheim or something. I know they're in the Conference League this season, probably a bad example, but you know, like a bottom end team that is not going to get that dream move at this current stage. But the only way to do that, Rio, is to up your game and play better for us. And then you get your big move. Simple as that. And we get a good performance out of you. Everyone's a winner, Liam.
Oh, maybe we can be double wingers. We can package them with Taylor to Dinamo Zagreb or Juklid Zagreb or Lokomotiv Zagreb or any of the Zagrebs would take the 2 of them. I loved Hatate when he first came into the team. I liked I liked the creativity. I liked the flair. Fuck, it's just so disappeared, didn't it? It's just faded. He's just a remnant of his former self. That Hatate that absolutely buried Gordon in the net nearly with that ball that he hit at Tynecastle. That's a Hatate I thought we were going to get. That's the one I miss. But my God, it's just that explosiveness, that bang, that spark, that's what disappeared for his game. I don't know. I mean, he's one of the players that he came through college or something. He didn't come through like a normal football background. He played college in Japan, which must be like playing college in America, and and it's good, but it's level that it's not hard to play at college level, especially in the States. Japan must be just as easy, because everybody else is in academies and stuff. Maybe for other teams as well, other Japanese internationals, you think some of them would have a word with their coaches or that as well, that we need to move in for this guy. I think you're getting any of that as well. He's not really shook it up with the national team either. The opportunities and chances he's had, he's in and out there. I don't know. I think Rio Hatate needs to figure out what sort of footballer he wants to be, because he looks like he's carrying a weight or something. He doesn't have that turn where he's moving with the ball. He turns and then he's stopping and going. So I think we've wore him down, or we've overcoached him, or he's not really sure what he's supposed to be doing in that position. So, if AJ keeps shitting the bed, maybe move him back and give him another run at right back, because he
did score 2 when he played right back for us in that one game against St Johnstone. He did score 2 that day.
Aye.
Weird.
So, maybe there's an opportunity for him there, but right now it's not happening for him in their midfield. Their midfield, I think we've got all the right players. I think we're just in the wrong positions.
Yeah, it's midfield wins you games. That's one of the most crucial parts of the field. And at the moment, it just feels like the combinations that we're getting in the middle, we just can't seem to get it, the balance spot on. There's wee moments where you go, okay, that's the one, that's working. And then other times, you just get really flat performances. So yesterday was obviously a capitulation, essentially, but there's been some drab first half performances this season. But then second half, we go out, we find an extra gear to try and get that performance from the start of a game, so that, you have the games won after an hour, and then you can start. Because at the start of the season, we were going out and trouncing teams. Right. But hey, you've also got to factor in that we're in the dead of the winter. There's a lot of fixtures happening thick and fast right now. So there's going to be fatigue. There's going to be moments where the team just hits a bit of a lull. But luckily, again, January transfer window's open. Isn't that just so convenient? So now is the time to try and improve on that, Celtic. Graham Tyrrell's also said Lennon Miller in, Hatate out. Lennon Miller's name does keep coming up all the time, it seems. When we played Motherwell the other day as well, there was a moment near the end of the game where he chased a ball out towards the sideline and he overran it, and he ended up basically decking it in the Celtic bench, to which I was like, that's him getting a closer look at the Celtic bench before he signs for us. That's him picking his seat for when he gets here. No, but to be fair, I think Miller would probably get his chance. If he came to Celtic, I don't think it would be a case of he would just sit on the bench. If Luke McCown, can get, decent game time, and he's somebody I think deserves more game time at this rate with the way things are going, then I think Lennon Miller, given what he's done so far in his short career, I think he would definitely get game time. It wouldn't be a case of he'd just come and sit in the stands every single week and just turn up to training. I think he would get a fair crack at it. And there are a couple of points as well regarding some of our Japanese players as well. Brown Warriors added as well that he thinks also Kyogo's been on the decline. Can't really disagree with that. He's definitely, but I mean, this season between him and Ida, we've just not had a consistent goal scorer. Have either of them reached double figures yet? I don't think they have. And, you're kind of relying on your quote-unquote number 9 to be that guy that's hitting double figures. But I think both of them are still in single figures for the season. But the consistency doesn't seem to be there. And Brown Warrior also added that Maeda has improved. The other two, not so much in his opinion. I agree with that. Maeda's been a standout under Brendan for the last couple of seasons. But anyway, let's get on to the St Mirren game. I say it is a big opportunity now for Celtic to bounce back really quickly. So I say it's a good thing in a way that, the games are coming. It's not like a few months ago where there might have been like an international break after it. I mean, when we beat them 3-0 in the first meeting of the season. Remember, back in September, there was an international break right after it, so Rangers had to stew on that for a couple of weeks. But for us, we've got a game coming up. Obviously, we've got St Mirren coming to Celtic Park. Now, they did beat Rangers just a couple of weeks ago. In case you forgot, they beat them in Paisley, but this is all close. They're coming to Celtic Park. We know what we're going to get with St Mirren. Like most teams that come to Celtic Park, like most Scottish Premiership teams, there's going to be a low block. There's going to be 10 men behind the ball. There's going to be very little adventure to go forward. There's probably going to be a big wall puncher in their team, which is probably going to be Gogic, because he is the quote-unquote wall puncher. There's going to be a clogger that's going to put a few bad tackles on us and probably get away with it. And the minute Callum McGregor has one sort of borderline bad tackle, it's a booking right away. We know how it operates. But we're going to see all these things from St Mirren. We're going to have to come at the traps fly. And I think, and my worry is that there's going to be a lot of fans in the stadium on Sunday who, if we don't, come out and get like 2-3 goals up quite early on, we're going in at half time, still goalless, or a scrappy 1-0, it's going to get a wee bit tetchy. See, ultimately, we're in a fantastic position. A wee bit of patience might be required, but it goes without saying, if we do come at the traps flying, that would be a great start, a good remedy after what happened yesterday, Liam, because I say anything to just get that off our back would be greatly appreciated right now.
Aye, you have to show a sign of life. We just look like we got died, so show us that you're alive and kicking. So get out there tomorrow, right? And Sunday. And I think if we start reverting to that same sort of passing through the back, and and that horseshoe starts appearing again, I think then you might hear the crowd get on the players and that, because we should not be doing that against St Mirren at home. So let's see if we can play direct football where we stretch them and pull them all over the place. And now, would Kieran Tierney be able to start on Sunday if he was to come?
I mean, if he was to sign like tomorrow morning, I think he would be able to make the team for Sunday. But I think this is one of these ones that'll probably go on for a few days. Maybe he'll be at Celtic Park on Sunday, sitting in the comfy seats with his agent and whatnot. Who knows? But I think if he was to sign like within the next 24 hours, because remember Scott Sinclair joined us like in the morning and then was on the bench against Hearts on his debut. Remember that back in 2016? So it probably could happen. Yeah, I mean, that would obviously give a lot of people a lift, if you see him there. But yeah, it's again, even if Tierney doesn't sign, we should still be in a position to obviously, come and beat. I know some people are saying in the chat, as I've said there, they did beat Rangers a couple of weeks ago, but obviously that was in Paisley. When these teams come to Celtic Park, and when they go to Ibrox as well, when they come through to Glasgow to play in the big stadiums, they tend to just sit with 10 men behind the ball. Now, let's talk about the midfield, because again, Wilson QW is coming in and said McCown needs to get a run of games now, bench Hatate. I think it's a great shout to just get McCown starting in this game. I think it's one for him. See, Hatate and Engels right now is a bit of a coin toss of what you're going to get with them. You don't really know what you're going to get. There's I say, wee moments here and there, but ultimately it's not consistent enough. I think McCown has done very little wrong when he does get a game. So for me, my midfield three at the moment would be McGregor, because obviously he's going to start. And there is a case to obviously argue that McGregor should be looked at as well, because he's not been at his best at times as well, but he'll start. Bernardo, I think, again, is I say nobody had a good game yesterday. Let's make that clear. Nobody did, and obviously he was included in that as well. But I think overall, I think Bernardo is always that quite steady, safe guy in the midfield. He's not going to look to put us in a bit of danger with a risky pass. It's always more safe passes. He's got a bit of physicality about him. And McCown's got that bit of tenaciousness, that bit of bulldog spirit, that kind of, gets a bit stuck in, bit of energy in the middle. So I think right now that would be a good midfield three to go with for Sunday. Whether Brendan does go with that, it's up for debate. But McCown, for me, I think, why not? Why not throw him in there against St Mirren? Surely, God, he can definitely pull off. He was doing it playing for Dundee every single week against teams like St Mirren. So why not?
I think we got to move McGregor away for the centre. Get him more in an attacking role. He's not that defensive midfielder. We're thinking because he's Scottish and the captain, we're trying to mould him into Scott Brown. Just like Greg Taylor will never be Kieran Tierney. He'll not be Scott Brown. He's not that type of player. He was a striker that we moved into the midfield. he belongs up, closer to the action and that. And you can see him when he was having his good run and he was hitting goals and he was hitting foot outside the 18-yard. He was playing up a wee bit forward. I don't mind Bernardo playing in the middle. I think Bernardo's got a lot of presence. Same with Arnie Engels. Let them play in the middle of the park. Let them do all the running. McGregor, he looks awkward now. He's one of the big boys with wide hips that, seem to... They seem to lose it over a couple of years. It's never like a slow decline. They're just moving in. All of a sudden, they can't run the same, or it's too painful or something for them.
Well, remember what happened with Scott Brown during the infamous COVID season? It got to the point where we were playing him because he was the captain, and it was kind of costing his results. I mean, lots of things went wrong that season. Lots of players were way off it. But many fans identified that, man, Scott Brown, he's done it. You don't want McGregor to get into that position. I know he retired from national football to obviously aid him to play longer for Celtic, but you don't want to run him into the ground, but you still need to use him sparingly. In a game like St Mirren at home, I think we can afford to rest McGregor for this one. I think McCown is more than able to fill in that role with what you're saying there.
Yeah, well, I think this is that hippie mentality. We're far too family orientated at times like this, where he's one of the family sort of thing, rather than a player that's there and paid to provide a function for us and a service. All these servants of the club and all that. Well, right now we're not getting service out of him. I mean, if I was my servant, to be taken out the back and getting a good hiding, good leather. But that's why I don't have servants. But yeah, I think he needs to either move to a different position or he needs rested. I thought when we've played without him, we looked good. Yep. And I think it makes the other players play harder, take more responsibility. I think he's a wee bit of a crutch. I think he's slowing it down. But all good things got to come to an end. Once you're hitting a certain age, how many great years do we need Callum McGregor to have at Celtic?
Yeah.
Before we move him on, it's like we can't wait till it's his choice. Just like Greg Taylor, like somehow it's his choice. This should be our choice. Our choice right now is we need. Okay, that's not one for us. We need to figure out how to make that. And sometimes having a captain that's Scottish and ticks all the other boxes and academy graduate and all that, it can just come a crutch that you don't.
No, a few people are coming in the chat and agreeing about the McGregor thing. And JD, nailing it right on the head. I've said this a few times. Bernardo would be better in that defensive role. And it's like, again, talking about, I said at the top of the show about systems, and we're talking about, we refer to players now by numbers, or the number 6, who is the classic defensive midfielder that sits in front of the back line pretty much and breaks up, like Rodri does at Manchester City. That guy that his whole job is just to basically sit in front of the back line, get the ball off of them and distribute it again, move the attack forward and say break up attacks. And it's like Bernardo, to me, ticks the box of being more of a number 6 than Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor's getting exposed a lot of times. We saw it yesterday with the high press. It's been European games where Callum McGregor gets exposed. Now, when Brendan was here previously, the formation he played was same but different, as David Logue would say. Where, right now it's like a 4-3-3 with like one player in the pivot, as they call it, the bottom of the midfield. But when it was here before, there was 2 in the pivot, and it was Scott Brown and McGregor side by side pretty much in this 4-2-3-1 formation. Right. But nowadays it's McGregor on his own. And I feel like, he's getting exposed there, but I think Bernardo, again, he ticks the boxes of being a bit bigger, more physical. He's not. We saw it the first game against Rangers this season. He was all over the place, getting in about them, breaking up their tackles and whatnot. Every time they're on the ball, he was just like a man possessed the way he was winning the ball off them. And he's got that energy and that power to push forward if needed. And it's like, to me, Bernardo should be the guy. If he's starting, he sits at the base of the midfield, and McGregor is a little bit in front of him where he can pull more of the strings in the middle of the park. Bernardo's job is to stay back and help the defence out and to basically start plays from the ball coming out from the back. So it's weird that whenever Bernardo does play, he doesn't get that role. To say his whole physical side seems to scream you should be a number 6, as they always say. So yeah, it's a weird choice, but yeah, JD, I agree totally on that one. I've said it many times. We'll see if it ever comes to fruition. It's like me and Liam. The amount of times we've talked about, can we play Liam Scales at left back? We've tried to will it into existence on this show, and it never ever happens. But hey, Bernardo at number 6. Anybody? Maybe one day it'll happen. If we keep saying it, we'll manifest it eventually, Liam. The final sort of debating point is obviously the forward line. I said earlier on, between Kyogo and Ida right now, neither of them hit double figures. But again, it's just consistency with them. A lot of our goals have came from the wide positions, because Kuhn and Maeda this season have had a fantastic season up to now. Regardless of how yesterday went, you cannot deny the numbers speak for themselves. But in terms of like Ida, we talked about it yesterday on PMP. It's a bit worrying of how little game time he's been getting, given how long we spent chasing him in the summer. To me, it's like, well, we spent all this time, we spent all that money on him. Let's keep in mind, he's 8.5 million with a chance of it going up to 9.5 million, which would put him our second most expensive signing at the moment. And it's like, whenever he's getting a game, he gets a few games here and there. Like once he started, I remember him playing against Ross County a few weeks back, and we battered them 5-0. We blew them away in the first half, if I remember correctly. And he scored a great goal that day. One of those ones where I thought, Ida, he's the type of player that's going to score from outside the area. He's a guy you've got to play to his strengths. He'll be in and around the 6-yard box. But he pinged one in from outside the area, just bent at the top corner. And it's like, man, that's what you want to see from Ida. But it just felt like, and I said it to Russell yesterday, it feels like with Brendan, he's not willing to fully give this guy a run of games. And it's like, I think Ida needs it, because he's coming on for 20-minute cameos and whatnot. It looks like he can't trap a ball at times, when he just looks like he's not fit or anything. So I think you've got to start committing to giving this guy game time. We spent so much money on him. It's like we've got to surely that. And then again, as I pointed out yesterday, we're now in a position where we've got these two players. Kyogo, we know how bloody good he can be with the numbers he's had over the last few seasons. So we've got Ida in. But now people are shouting for, we need a third choice striker now. It's got to the point we need a third choice striker. And it's like, well, that's where we find ourselves. But a few shouts in the chat for Ida to start tomorrow. Again, with St Mirren being a big physical team, you'd feel that this is the type of thing for Ida to go up against their cloggers at the back, Gogic and whatnot. But where would you go with tomorrow for the striker?
Well, I don't know, like going against the big cloggers and all that is usually when you see the best of Kyogo. Every time you think he's going to get battered because he's up against big guys and all that, those are the games where he actually ends up, really annoying them and finding the space. And maybe it's just like pure survival instincts, and he's just, Christ, I better be sharpish here. You're going to kick me. Ida, I like, I said he was my most, when we did our year-end rundowns, he was my biggest disappointment. I thought we were going to get something a lot better than what we got. And it wasn't until I seen him it was a Celtic TV interview he was on, where I was just, oh my God, that's the most laid-back guy I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I live in Vancouver, that guy was a bigger stoner than me. Like, he's just like lying there asking questions, like answering questions. And I'm thinking, my God, that's like a weird attitude for a professional football player, just really lethargic. And, I remember, you watch interviews with Matt O'Reilly, he was sharp and he was on point and engaging, and Jota and all that. And you get to Ida and I don't know, it's just some boys and their personality and all that. Like he just looks so casual with stuff like that it's crept into his game. When he came on yesterday, I didn't absolutely know. I thought, all right, great. He's going to grab a chance here. I just figured, no, it's just more of the same. He's not going to get there, and he wasn't. He wasn't really involved in anything big, really, at any point to make any impact in that game whatsoever, or even be memorable. Yeah, does he need another game? You'd say that, but every time I see him playing in these games, he fails to impress. He's so underwhelming, and I don't know if a game. Well, I think he's got to earn it. I think he's got to change that mood and that attitude that he's wanting to go and improve everybody, so that when he comes on, he's angry and he's smashing into players. And he's like, I loved when Big Giamakis used to come in. He was pissed off when he came on, because he'd been sitting after the game. I want to see the strikers that come on like that and really throwing themselves and letting the defenders know that they're on, and now they've got a different battle on their hand, because that will disrupt and shake up their game, makes them make adjustments, all that sort of stuff. I don't know, I'm just not seeing that for either.
Well, in the chat, a few people obviously mentioned the old Johnny Kenny thing. That's always been brought up that he's coming back. But 1414 official, 1440 official, Johnny Kenny's in the building. So I think it was from January, the January window, he was being recalled. So if he is back and within the squad, if there is a legitimate chance he is going to get some game time at Celtic this second half of the season, then that might be a wild card that appears in the squad on Sunday. We'll wait and see on that one. But if he is back and recalled, if that's official now, then we'll wait and see. Says he did not too bad playing for Shamrock Rovers, and they played in the Conference League this season. So we'll wait and see what happens with that if he is indeed back. But that's a few things for Brendan to ponder. But regardless of that, before we do the score prediction, we just went on an hour and 5 there. 113 watching as well. Wow, busy night on 05. I wonder how many of them are the green persuasion, how many of them are the blue persuasion. To be fair, though, the chat's actually been not too bad. I've been keeping an eye on it. I haven't seen many rascals in there, to be honest. But yeah, let's do the mystery player. Let's go back to that from the start of the show. So Liam, you seemed a wee bit, when I brought the graphic up, you were a bit like, oh, because all the ones I've been doing so far, the number of clubs has been quite small, but this guy's done a bit of a magical mystery tour of Scottish football. So let's bring it back up again. So started at Clydebank, went to Dundee United, then crossed the road to Dundee, then he joined Celtic, then Tranmere Rovers, Motherwell, Dundee, Falkirk, Clydebank again, and Albion Rovers. And those eagle-eyed in the chat will notice that the Celtic shirt you can see in that picture is the same as the one I'm wearing tonight. Mine has got the infamous People's Ford sponsor on the front of it. That was the season after where they had to get rid of it. So that gives you a timestamp, Liam, of roughly when this player was playing for Celtic in the early 90s. And of course, the stadium in the background should be a clue as well, because that's the old Celtic Park, the old look of it. So, Liam, any ideas?
Honestly, David Hanna.
Oh, not David Hanna. Dundee United is a shout because he did play for them, but no, it's a little bit before David Hanna's time. It is, and a few people have got it in the chat. It's Tommy Coyne. Hey, Tommy Coyne. There you go. He's got the old Simon Cowell shots going on there. Look how high that waistline is. Jeez, oh. My God, Tommy. But yeah, what a career. Clydebank, Dundee United, Dundee, Celtic, Tranmere, Motherwell, Dundee, Falkirk, Clydebank, and Albion Rovers. But yeah, played for Celtic, obviously, at, shall we say, a grim time. But the very first Celtic game I attended in 1991, he scored a brace that day. It was against Falkirk in August 1991. My dad took me along to it when I was like 6 years old, and most of it all passed me by because I didn't really bother getting into football until I was about 9 or 10 years old at the 94 World Cup, but he took me along to it, and I've only know this because I've went back and read the Celtic Wiki, and I managed to find the highlights of the game as well on YouTube. It was uploaded. But yeah, we beat Falkirk 4-1, and Gary Gillespie scored as well that day. Gillespie joined us and scored. Tommy Coyne got a brace, and John Collins scored the other one. But yeah, he obviously played for Celtic at quite a grim time. But for all accounts, he was actually quite a decent striker. Him and Jerry Craney at the time were quite a decent partnership up top. So, but yeah, Tommy Coyne. Let's see if there's any memories of Tommy Coyne in there. Let's have a wee look. And a few people did get it. Smell the Glove obviously got it. Martin Weir got it. And I said way back at the start, a few people got it as well. But yeah, Tommy Coyne was the answer on the mystery player. But yes, let's get the score predictions in before we go, Liam. So Celtic. All that said, tonight, will they bounce back emphatically on Sunday? Will they respond the right way? Will it be a turgid, scrappy 1-0, 2-1, or will we come back with an emphatic win? I am in the camp that we'll bounce back pretty well here, and I think we'll get back on track pretty well. We've got a good run of fixtures coming up at Celtic Park. We've got obviously St Mirren and Dundee United. We've got an away game with Ross County, Kilmarnock in the Scottish Cup. We've got a lot of home games coming up in the next few weeks. But I can see us getting I'll say 3-0. I'll go for 3-0 quite a lot. I say I will get a quite comfortable 3-0 on Sunday.
I agree. I'll add an extra one onto that just for the hell of it, Phil. I think 4-0. I think our crowd's not going to let them away with a disappointing performance, and I think when adjustments need to be made, the crowd will let them know. And I think if Tierney shows up, either in the crowd or in the squad or whatever that is, you know what? Nice for the club to actually do a feel-good thing for the fans or something like that. It'd be a nice way to just say, yeah, right, we messed up on Sunday. We're still going ahead. You're scared, Tierney, and we'll do it. Honestly, it should be a WWF, WWE Phil type sort of thing where he comes out of a boat or something like that.
So when we unveiled Bio with the lights out, they should have put the Undertaker's gong over it when the lights came up. But something like that.
So maybe we can get the bus maybe coming up with some ideas of what is it could be like. I think it should be like Chumbawamba or something. I get knocked down. I can't forget. As it comes in and just
with his Tesco bag in hand and his megaphone.
Aye. That's it. Perfect.
Yeah. I say we'll wait and see on that one, but it's looking quite likely. In fact, I was going to just check actually on the chat tonight. I put a poll. Let's see what the current results are about Kieran Tierney, yay or nay. Let's have a gander at how many votes we've got. So there are 107 votes. Nice one. And it's 79% yes, 21% no. So very much a unanimous bring him home. Bring him home, Kieran Tierney. Up the road, son. Up the road. Come on, you've had your fun down in London, but up the road, man. Come on, we need you back. And a few predictions as well came in. It looks like it's an emphatic one. And Bernard McLaughlin saying that Tommy Coyne is better than Ida. There's a thought for you. Both played for Ireland, obviously both Irish Republican strikers. So there you go. But yes, we shall head off now. Thanks for watching, everybody. 104 currently watching live. A very busy Friday feeling. It's always good to have you on board. Hopefully you stick around for every Friday. We're here at 9 o'clock, me and Liam, till we get to the game. So we shall head off. Enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of your weekend. And if you're going to the game on Sunday, wherever you watch it, enjoy the game too. And hopefully Celtic can bounce back emphatically. I'm pretty confident that we will. But look out for PMP as well. That'll be along on Sunday evening. Terry and Russell will be along for that. So again, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, and you'll be notified when it is live. Liam, thanks again for joining me. And folks, we shall catch you later. All the best. See you.